This show is part of One Place, a daily network of focused briefings across the stories people follow most.
Welcome to the Roundup. We are diving into a massive day of sports milestones and tournament drama, from the ice to the hardwood and even the track. Let's get into the headlines.
Alex Ovechkin reaches 1,000 career goals in overtime loss.
March Madness odds shift as the Sweet 16 field settles.
The Big Ten dominates the tournament's opening weekend record books.
St. John's advances on a historic last-second buzzer beater.
Teenager Cooper Lutkenhouse makes history at World Indoor Championships.
Overinflated basketball controversy follows Nebraska's thrilling victory over Vanderbilt.
Arkansas outlasts High Point in a high-scoring weekend thriller.
South Carolina prepares for a high-stakes rematch against USC.
Alabama cruises past Texas Tech to reach fourth straight Sweet 16.
Dodgers explode for 10 runs in one inning against Angels.
First, the NHL milestone. Alex Ovechkin continues to rewrite the history books, reaching the incredible milestone of 1,000 career goals when combining regular season and playoff totals. He hit the mark during a hard-fought 3-2 overtime loss against the Colorado Avalanche on Sunday. The goal was his 26th of the current season and came from his signature spot on the power play, tying the game late in regulation. While the Capitals couldn't secure the win in the extra period, Ovechkin's individual achievement further cements his status as one of the greatest goal scorers the game has ever seen.
It is truly remarkable to see him still producing at this level, especially considering he passed Wayne Gretzky for the most regular season goals nearly a year ago. Currently, Ovechkin sits at 923 regular season goals. Gretzky still holds the combined record with 1,016 goals, but Ovechkin is closing that gap. On the other side of the ice, the Avalanche showed why they are the first team to clinch a playoff spot this year. Brock Nelson secured the win in overtime, continuing Colorado's momentum as they look toward another deep postseason run this spring.
Now to college hoops. The field for the Sweet 16 is officially set, and the betting odds are shifting rapidly as we head into the second weekend of March Madness. Duke entered the tournament as the favorite, but after a very close call against 16-seed Siena, the Blue Devils have slipped slightly in the eyes of oddsmakers. Michigan and Arizona have now moved into the top spots as the favorites to cut down the nets. The East region looks particularly daunting, with all four remaining head coaches having previous Final Four experience. It is a loaded field where every remaining team has a legitimate legacy to play for.
The biggest shocker so far has to be the early exit of the defending champion Florida Gators, who were stunned by Iowa in the second round. That upset has completely opened up the South region, significantly improving the outlook for teams like Nebraska and Houston. While Iowa and Texas are the lowest seeds remaining, the parity this year is evident. Even perennial powerhouse UConn finds itself with middle-of-the-pack odds despite their recent championship pedigree. As we move to the regional sites, the pressure only intensifies for these 16 teams dreaming of a trip to the Final Four.
Next, conference dominance. The Big Ten Conference is making a massive statement during this tournament, putting on a dominant display throughout the first weekend. In a historic turn of events, the conference saw a perfect 4-0 day on Saturday, capped off by Nebraska reaching the Sweet 16 for the first time in school history. The Hawkeyes added to the Big Ten's glory with a thrilling 1-point victory over top-seeded Florida, thanks to a clutch three-pointer in the final seconds. With Michigan, Purdue, Michigan State, and Illinois all advancing, the Big Ten is positioning itself as the clear powerhouse of the 2026 postseason.
While the Big Ten is grabbing the headlines, the SEC is also showing depth, with 4 teams moving on, including Arkansas and Tennessee. Meanwhile, the ACC has struggled significantly, leaving Duke as the lone representative for a conference that usually dominates this time of year. The Big 12 remains competitive with 3 teams still alive, including top-seeded Arizona. It is fascinating to track these win-loss records by conference because it often dictates the narrative around league strength for the entire following season. Right now, the Big Ten is winning that argument convincingly as they prepare for the regional semifinals.
Moving to a thriller. St. John's is heading to the Sweet 16 for the first time since 1999, and they did it in the most dramatic fashion possible. Dylan Darling, a player who had not scored a single point the entire game, became the hero by sinking a lefty layup as the buzzer sounded to beat Kansas 67-65. It was a wild sequence where Kansas coach Bill Self tried to use fouls to disrupt the final play, but Darling took the inbound pass and drove straight to the rim. This marks the first time in tournament history a game winner was scored by someone without a previous field goal.
Rick Pitino was clearly delighted, calling it one of the funniest things he has ever been involved with after Darling insisted on taking the final shot, despite his struggles. Darling had been shooting poorly lately, but his confidence never wavered when the season was on the line. For Kansas, it is a bitter end to a season that saw them struggle with turnovers in the clutch. They have now been eliminated before the second weekend for 4 straight years. St. John's now prepares for a massive showdown against top-seeded Duke in Washington, D.C., carrying all the momentum of that historic buzzer beater.
Next, track and field. 17-year-old Cooper Lutkenhaus has just made history at the World Athletics Indoor Championships in Poland. The Texas high school junior won the 800-meter title with a time of 1 minute and 44 seconds, becoming the youngest male ever to win a senior individual world medal. Lutkenhaus, who recently turned professional, showed veteran poise as he held off experienced runners from Belgium and Spain to take the gold. His performance continues a meteoric rise that began last summer when he set world records for his age group. He is quickly becoming the new face of American middle-distance running on the global stage.
What makes this even more impressive is that Lutkenhaus was competing against seasoned professionals while still being a junior in high school. He mentioned after the race that the support from his Team USA teammates was crucial, especially during the final 150 meters when the pressure was at its peak. This victory follows his recent win at the USA Track and Field Indoor Championships, proving that his success is no fluke. As he looks toward the future, the track world is buzzing about what this young phenom can achieve as he continues to develop his speed and tactical awareness in senior competition.
Back to the tournament. The thrilling game between Nebraska and Vanderbilt ended with a bit of controversy regarding the equipment used in the tournament. Nebraska won 74-72 after a late layup by Brendan Frager, but Vanderbilt's Tyler Tanner nearly won it with a half-court heave that went in and then somehow rattled out. This has reignited a conspiracy theory among players and coaches that the basketballs used in March Madness are overinflated. Several stars have described the balls as feeling like balloons or being super aired up, which can cause shots that hit the rim to bounce much higher and more unpredictably than they normally would.
Even Nebraska coach Fred Hoiberg admitted that the ball's inflation might have played a role in that final shot rimming out. While it is impossible to know for sure if a standard ball would have dropped, the visual of the ball being halfway down the cylinder before popping out was jarring. This issue has been a talking point for several years, with players noting that the balls at certain regional sites seem bouncier than others. Regardless of the ball controversy, Nebraska is celebrating their first ever NCAA tournament wins, moving into the Sweet 16 with a sense of destiny after surviving such a close call.
Next, more Saturday highlights. Saturday was a day of incredible shot-making and high-stakes drama across the bracket. Beyond the Nebraska thriller, John Calipari's Arkansas Razorbacks had to fight off a determined High Point team to secure their spot in the Sweet 16. The game featured 15 lead changes and was tied late in the second half before SEC Player of the Year Darius Acuff took over. Acuff scored 7 straight points to provide the necessary cushion, ending High Point's dreams of a Cinderella run. It was a reminder that even the top seeds are being pushed to their absolute limits in this year's highly competitive tournament field.
The atmosphere at these games has been electric, with Nebraska playing in front of a massive crowd that felt like a home game. The emotional swings of the tournament were on full display as teams traded baskets in the final minutes. For Arkansas, this win marks their second straight trip to the second weekend, showing the consistency Calipari has brought to the program. As we look back at the best and worst of Day 3, it is clear that the gap between the power conferences and the mid-majors is narrowing, leading to the kind of absolute madness fans crave every March.
Now, the women's bracket. A highly anticipated rematch is set in the women's tournament as South Carolina prepares to host USC in a battle for a Sweet 16 berth. This game, dubbed the Battle for the Real SC, features 2 of the most prominent programs in the country. South Carolina is coming off a dominant 103-34 win in their opener, led by a stellar performance from Joyce Edwards. However, they know the Trojans will be a much tougher test. USC advanced after a grueling overtime win against Clemson, where Jazzy Davidson played every single minute and scored 31 points to lead her team to victory.
The Trojans are playing with a lot of heart, especially considering they have been without star Juju Watkins all season due to injury. They already faced South Carolina back in November, and while they lost that matchup, the experience of playing the top-seeded Gamecocks should help them prepare for the hostile environment in Columbia. South Carolina has historically dominated this series, winning all 4 previous meetings, but the stakes have never been higher than they are tonight. Fans can expect a physical, high-intensity game as both teams fight to keep their championship aspirations alive in this prestigious tournament.
Next, Alabama's big win. Alabama put on a masterclass in their second-round matchup, routing Texas Tech 90-65 to reach their 4th consecutive Sweet 16. Latrell Wrightsell Jr. was the star of the night, pouring in 24 points and hitting 6 three-pointers to overwhelm the Red Raiders' defense. The Crimson Tide used their size advantage to dominate the boards and built a massive 24-point lead by halftime. Despite being shorthanded without star guard Aiden Holloway, Alabama showed incredible depth and energy. Coach Nate Oates praised his team's readiness, noting that his veteran players understand exactly what it takes to advance deep into March.
Texas Tech simply had no answer for Alabama's speed and suffocating defense. The Red Raiders struggled significantly from the field, shooting just 34% and failing to find a rhythm without their injured All-American J.T. Toppin. Alabama's ability to share the ball was evident as Labyrinth Philon Jr. recorded 12 assists, ensuring the offense stayed fluid even when he wasn't scoring himself. The Crimson Tide now move on to a heavyweight clash against top-seeded Michigan in Chicago. With the way they are shooting from beyond the arc, Alabama looks like a team that could make another serious run toward the Final Four.
Finally, baseball season starts. The Los Angeles Dodgers showed off their offensive firepower in a blowout win against the Angels, highlighted by a massive 10-run third inning. The rally was sparked by a solo home run from Teoscar Hernandez and punctuated by a bases-loaded 3-run double from Shohei Ohtani. It was a display of pure dominance that made the game feel over before the 4th inning even began. Tyler Glasnow provided excellent support on the mound, tossing 5 innings and striking out nearly every batter he faced. His curveball was particularly devastating, inducing 13 whiffs and keeping the Angels hitters completely off balance throughout his outing.
Even when the Dodgers started subbing in replacements, the production didn't stop. James Tibbs III hit an impressive solo shot after coming in for Ohtani, proving just how deep this roster really is. The only minor setback for the Dodgers was a shaky inning from reliever Tanner Scott, who gave up a 3-run homer to Jorge Soler. However, with a 13-run cushion, the outcome was never in doubt. The two teams will meet again on Monday night at Dodger Stadium, where the Angels will hope to find a way to slow down this high-powered Dodgers lineup that looks ready for October.
That wraps up our sports roundup for today. Thanks for joining us for these updates.
Be sure to follow us for your daily briefing on the stories that matter most. We will see you back here tomorrow.